Yep, you're live.
We're live, are we?
Yep.
Okay. Just having rabbit problems at the moment. Good morning, or afternoon, or night, depending on where you are. We've got three things we want to put up, and Evan will be just about to vacate the premises. He's done 2 days at Splendour in the grass at Byron, and he's not well at the moment, are you?
Just a little bit dusty.
Okay.
Well,
so
literally. It was
I'm going to put him out in the back paddock, and he can graze there for a while. He's not much use to us anywhere else. Oh, obviously, you've got to set this up and send it around the world after this, haven't you?
Yep.
So you've got to do that yet. So you still have some functions.
Yeah, some.
Three things I wanted to talk about today. First of all, I've put out an article. I don't put out as many at the moment because we're sort of so busy with other stuff, but I have found time to put one up about 2 sites. One is a rock. It's called 2 Days, 2 Ways. One's a rock, a mobile rock that was sent to us, and the other one is the site we've gone to look at. And that's really how we do our archaeology. We either go somewhere when we're asked to go there, or someone gives us something or sends us something. We don't actually go anywhere without permission, and we don't take anything, and we never have taken anything. It's given to us or bought for us. And the rock itself is quite bizarre. It's got a ridge that runs all the way around it. It's a rock we've never seen before, but of course, all 300 of the rocks are all different, aren't they, Evan?
Oh, yeah.
They're never the same.
Yep.
But this one is particularly not the same. It's got a ridging that runs around all 4 sides and some rather unusual markings, and I'm still working with it at the moment. I have a strong suspicion it's female, but I also think it's a protection rock, but it's a work in motion. The other part went to a site with this gentleman whose name I won't give, and nor will I give the location of the site, because if I do, the Lands Council will probably want to develop it into subdivision, which is what the Darkingham Lands Council does all the time. And this is too important. It's actually something unusual. It's called a hospital site. And some people might be a bit shocked by that and think I'm using a white fella's term, a bit like Bruce Elder.
Bruce Pascoe.
Bruce Pascoe, sorry. That's right. Yeah, sorry about that, Bruce. Yeah, but it is actually a hospital site. And Bruce Pascoe is also correct, and we'll talk about that in a sec when we talk about our online conference. We were taken to one before by a senior park ranger, John Gallard, and he took us to what he called a hospital site, and there was a healing table, a birthing table, and a massive hole where the healer would put different herbs inside there and put water in there and then crush it and leave it in there and seep it for a period of time. Well, lo and behold, this place had all of those things again, and I recognized all 3 of them. Then a 4th set up. Evan's got a picture I think he's going to put up of the seeping hole, aren't you? And I can tell you one thing about this seeping hole. It isn't natural, and it goes down a long way, and there's another site there which is a birthing site, and a young lady laid in it, and you could see it was perfectly made to give birth, and a healing table. And those things together were exactly what we saw at the other side. And then this one went one further. At the bottom of the rock, there was a cave that was sort of knocked out of it. It was buried, and, well, it was knocked out. It's just not natural. It sits against the ground. And I think that's a place where you lay also. But on that one, you'd lay on the dirt and underneath the rock, whereas the other one, you lay on top of the rock. And we think that they both have different functions. And further down the creek from there, we saw a place where there were literally close to 100 engravings in the ground where they sharpened the rocks, and further up, just to probably about further down. There's one Evan's putting up now. It was full of these things. And further down, there was a place where there was an outcrop of basalt, and that's rare because this is sandstone country. So that one was quite interesting. But that itself, I've got to make the point. The first, that is traditional, stick, stone and bone stuff. But the hospital site and the male site being so close, and then another site that we think represents sperm, it's all added up to a story. And part of the story is the fact that these people, when they went to their hospital, they didn't turn on the electricity because it doesn't have any. The rocks are the electricity and they are the healing process. And that's the difference. It does the same thing. There's structures, both the one we have today that are made for healing and the one that was there. And secondly, have an energy, but their energy, the hospital of today, comes through electricity and machines. The energy of this one comes through something completely different, which is the rock itself. And in one case, maybe the dirt and the rock, the earth and the rock together. Anyway, it's an interesting parallel. It's called 2 Ways, 2 Days, a hospital site and a protection rock. The guess is that it is a protection rock. I just sense it. And I actually take it with me a fair bit and use it as a protection rock. And I had another one to begin with. Now it's got a partner. Funny thing is they're both female. Oh, I'll get into trouble for that one, I haven't. Because some original people are growling at us because, number one, we're supposed to have gone to lots of female sites, which is a shock for both of us because we never have and never would. I found that quite funny. I have taken some women to the healing table above Carry-On, but I don't walk past a certain point, do I?
You can see the delineation.
And I tell everyone,
the rock,
males,
there's like a ridge
Yeah.
that surrounds it, and you just don't go past it.
we make that clear. And on one occasion, I took some original women there, and they asked me to stand to sit further away, which I did while they were doing that, just for protection, so that no one interrupted them. And it was quite okay for them to be near that site, but I've had other people who criticised and had never been at the site and said we've been to a woman's site. We don't do that. We don't go anywhere like that.
People just come up with crap basically and invent stuff. I'm sorry, I'm not in a light and fluffy.
I've also got criticised for having women's rocks like these two, and this. Some people have said that's wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. My response would be twofold. Number one, the days have changed. And number two, if the rocks didn't agree with me doing this and they weren't happy with it, they kill me.
Yeah, we would know.
We know. Don't worry about that.
Be here.
You can't tell me that I can't be that. By the way, I tell every other person they can't touch these sites if they're males because they're female rocks. But in my case, because I'm the custodian of the rocks and we've been cursed so often and we use it for protection, they want to protect us. It's that simple. If no one was cursing us, I wouldn't need protection rocks, nor would you, Evan?
Exactly.
You've got one by your bedside table, and I have two that I carry with me. When I go and play tennis later on today, I take them with me. And the 2 times I haven't taken them with me, both times something untoward took place, which only shows you what their role is to protect me, and they want to do it. So that's the first article we're doing. It's on 2 different pieces. I've got another one coming up soon, but we're also trying to get together a second book on Interview with an Alien, and I'm going to be locked in with that a bit. And now that Evan and Leah have found a way for us to look at the actual things without using a computer to try and report my voice, which it doesn't come out very well at all.
Yeah, Australian accent's terrible. They want a nice Midwest American accent or something.
And Leah's worked okay, and mine worked atrociously.
Well, I'll never forget. What did Edgar Casey become?
Education.
Education.
When I used it at Edgar Casey, they turned it into education. And about 6 other things, didn't they? Every time I used Edgar Casey's name, it turned it into something completely different. And none of it made any sense. It just made the whole thing unreadable. Anyway, we fixed that up and we'll do the next one too. That's the first part of the equation. The second part is we're going to do an online conference this Sunday or Saturday, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Smacker Wyman with us, and it's called Old Ways. And the reason we're doing that is twofold. Because in the change, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that, there's been a bit of a change in the calendar of the change. It'll still take place, but we will be talking about that. We're going to get Smacker along, who's an old way person, a healer. He spent most of his life living with original people of the old way, and he's wandered from place to place. And we're getting him to share that information and wisdom, and it is extensive. And then we're going to talk about old ways, and we're going to take a little bit of a sidetrack there, because we're going to talk about old ways, and then also Mr. Pascoe, who's been attacked mercilessly for even suggesting that original people did no-dig farming. Now, I want to make the point we're going to look at that in some detail and find out whether, because when we're talking about old ways, we need to get a few things right about how they lived. And we've got two different arguments. And a lot of people are attacking Mr. Pascoe and saying you're just being racist and trying to make out that using white fella stories to fit us into your narrative, and it's wrong because we never did farming. Well, that's incorrect. And it's not incorrect because of, it's incorrect because of one thing, because there's so much proof to the contrary. Now, number one, when those people attack Mr. Pascoe, would you also bear in mind that there was a grinding stone found right out in the middle there, dated at 18,000 years. And how did they date it? Because of the crushed nardoo seeds that were found inside that were grounded down. Now, that's called farming, isn't it? When you take a seed, whether it's wheat or rice, because that's all that is, they're just different grasses, and you crush it up and then you harvest it. The difference is the original people did not actually dig the land. Now, if you go up to the top end, when the Macassans came down and they brought down different fruit trees, what would happen is they'd eat the fruit trees and then they deliberately throw the seeds into the remains of the site they were on and act as compost. Now, that was done a lot.
Yeah, they found bananas in Western Australia.
Yeah, no, they used the stuff, man. Well, what they did was they threw it into the ashes or threw it into the compost that was there and walked away. And lo and behold, something grew. That is still farming. I'll go one step further. There's another form of farming that was taking place, according to Jim Bowler, Gurdip Singh, and Peter Owendyke 180,000 years ago, where the Great Barrier Reef is today. Both them and further on Gurdip Singh at Lake George got dates of massive increases for the first time ever in charcoal accumulation. We'll talk about that in a lot more detail. And it always happened in Lake George at times when the lake was full. So don't tell me it was bushfires, because it wasn't. And that's called fire stick farming. And people need to understand, before the original people did this, eucalypts made up 1 to 2% of the vegetation in Australia. But the conifers were the main ones. But conifers aren't good with fire stick farming, are they? Kills them. But when it comes to eucalypts, that's when they seed off and then start again. They can handle the fire. The wattles can handle the fire. And what the original people did is they created what we have today. And we know that started 180,000 years ago, and we know it started 120,000 years ago, and we know it happened before that. So we're going to talk about that, and we're also going to talk about old ways in relation to our dealings with different elders and what they've taught us. And we want to do that as well, like Smacker's doing his bit. And then what we'll do, when we have our conversation, I just finished it this morning with Leah and Mesref, I want to ask him about the old ways in Australia, whether they were correct, what they were trying to do, when it started, how it started. I want to cover the parts about what Mr. Pascoe said about the fire stick farming, whether that's legit, whether that happened, the whole thing. I want his take on that too. So it's going to be a story about old ways, and we're going to be looking at it from different points of view. Smacker will get in very much into on the country and with people, and we're going to do an overview. We want to look at the whole business of this, and I want to make the point. Some people might say, "Oh, this person's got the hospital site. He should give it back to the original people and report it to Lands Council, shouldn't he?"
Mm-hmm.
That Lands Council, the Darkingon Lands Council, are trying their hardest right now to start with the development at a very sacred site at Carryong, where we know, irrespective of the hieroglyphs, that the star map above, which has been authenticated by who? Sydney University. We have the piece of paper with the name on it, the date on it, down to the minute when this took place. And they marked it out 2500 BC and gave us a month and a day, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Down to the minute when this was a correct star map. Well, that's the oldest star map on this planet. And that's well within the 500 metres of the subdivision. And I do know that this same Lands Council have 4 other sites they're going to subdivide. And I've been told, I don't know if it's true, that they are now the largest subdividers on the central coast of New South Wales. That being the case, this hospital site, which has been looked after a person who's built boardwalks around it. Did you know that? Built them himself.
Right.
and he's an old man. He's older than me,
Right.
and he wants to spend more time looking after it and honouring it. Why would I then get someone else to look after it when I've got the best possible person who is he doesn't want people to walk on it. He wants to brush the soil back more and then put a boardwalk around it so no one even touches it.
Mm-hmm.
We want him to look after his land because he's looking after it properly with respect. So, and the third part of this, and I said I'd keep this down to 10 minutes, Evan. How am I going?
15.
Oh, good. The third part is 2 weeks from now. I think on the Friday and Saturday, we're going up to a place called Caldwell, which is in Queensland. It's between Cairns and Townsville, and they have a UFO festival there. And they've asked us to come along to talk about the archaeology and the dreaming stories that acknowledge aliens, particularly Pleiadians in Australia. And of course, we have been attacked by that, haven't we? By both white fellas and black fellas, haven't we? Mm-hmm. Often. I find it funny when black fellas attack us, knowing that the only dreaming story that is given all over Australia, and with the exception of the intentions of the hunter Orion, it's called the Seven Sisters from the Pleiades. And that's what it's called by everyone. I find it strange that any original person would be upset about us trying to validate that that's a real story.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
It really doesn't make sense, does it?
I mean, every black fella in this country knows about the Seven Sisters from the Pleiades dreaming story. We all know it's true. And here we are trying to validate it with evidence and scientific evidence. That's all we're bringing to this. We're going to do a presentation on the Friday night as a workshop. And I don't know if there's tickets still available, but it's going to be on there on that day. And there we're going to be bringing in and showing you evidence. Of course, we can't bring the skulls in and the bones, because if I take them out the front door, what happens to me, Evan?
Straight to jail.
How many years?
Don't pass go. Don't
3
collect
years?
$200.
Oh, no. It's $1 million fine, 3 years jail, remember?
Yep.
If it leaves the room, or if we get it analysed by scientists, and we have one of the best in the country ready to do it, who said he would do it. If we did that, we would be breaking the law, wouldn't we? Mm. So we can't do that, can we? No, we can't break. No, but we can bring you authentic reproductions done by a gentleman who used to work for the Australian Museum doing this, and he did it all way, and it took him 6 months to put these skulls back together. We can bring you that. We'll be showing people metal objects found in Australia. Some cases, 24% doesn't register on the periodic table. More to the point, what are metal objects doing in this country? We're going to show you rocks that have been marked in a way that you couldn't do today. We're going to be talking about evidence, empirical evidence of the existence of the truth in the story that the Seven Sisters from the Pleiades, followed by someone who came from Orion, wasn't it?
Yes.
A rather lustful or heartbroken or vengeful.
He might have been a romantic. You don't know.
Look, that's the funny part. The Seven Sisters from the Pleiades, all what they did is always the same. Even when two women are caught by Orion, the main sister, who's the boss and got better magic than anyone, gets them back. That part's always the same. The motives of the male from Orion do vary from tribe to tribe. Somewhat could be a rapist, could be a murderer, could be heartbroken, could be romantic. We're not sure. That varies, but the other part never varies. And that's the point in this. Yes, and it's interesting that the Pitjantjatjara women, when they did the Sydney Olympics, they did the dance of the Pleiades there. Now, why do you think of all the dances the blackfellas could do and the women decided to do, and of course the men couldn't do that dance, could they? No. They're not sisters, and we know the difference. They could do the dance of the vengeful or lustful or heartbroken Orion, chasing them, but not the dance of the Pleiades. And I want you to think about that. Why did they choose that if it isn't true? They presented that to the world because it is true. Well, what we want to do at Caldwell, we've done it before, but at Caldwell you can get a close chance. You can come up and photograph these things, and we're going to have a workshop event where we're going to have breaks in that, and the audience will be involved too. That's if you're living up in the far north coast of Queensland somewhere, that's a viable possibility for you. If you're living in Victoria, well, that's a bit harder. But you could.
Although we are doing something in Victoria soon too.
Oh yeah, that's the other part. We have a venue, and he's been keen for some time for us to do a series of venues. They're very small. Oh, it's not small, medium size, about 50 or 60 people, and it's also a what is it? A bar, bistro sort of thing with food and all that sort of stuff. We're going to be doing some talks there. We've agreed to do a few of them. So if you're in Victoria, you can miss out on the Caldwell, but I would think our first one in Victoria will be in September. We've got to confirm that. We'll put a date up once that's going on. Yes, and I noticed somebody just mentioned New Zealand. The Pleiades is called. Well, you just knocked it off there.
No, it's right there.
Oh, there it is. Oh, right. Matariki. Oh, I probably said that badly in Māori language, but my apologies for that. But yes, of course. And by the way, the Māori people and the original people don't make a story which is central to their whole religious, cultural belief system and decide one day just make it up while you're sitting around the campfire. It's a truth. And our job, and I find it, I still repeat this, I find it amazing that any original person would attack us for even mentioning and trying to validate this. But you've got to remember something. When we're given ceremony by Kano, when I was given that ceremony, he told me I had to validate these truths with whitefellow evidence, and that's what we're doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got an online event coming up on Saturday or Sunday. Sunday on the Southern Hemisphere and Saturday in most of everywhere else. And we have a new article up, which I'd encourage you to read. Yes, I know it's about 3,500 words. I can't write less than that. I did once, didn't I?
Yeah, it was exciting.
900 words. I've done it once, so no point going back to that anymore. And the third thing is the online conference. Join us. If you can't come to the not online, but on-site conference at Cardwell. If you can't join us at Cardwell, join us online. You've got a day. It means if you can't watch it, particularly if you're in London somewhere, at 12 o'clock at night, you can watch it in the morning or in the afternoon. It's got a 1 day notice before it goes off, doesn't it?
Yep.
Then it goes back to our subscribers.
And
our subscribers, we did put on a presentation.
Some people actually came this time.
Yeah, and other people didn't get it, but we're doing one each month, and we'll keep telling you about the next one. We'll send out emails and try and let you know. We do put on one a month, and we always put on new stuff that hasn't been done before. And continue
question, what date in Melbourne?
Oh, look, it's September, and we'll probably know in a couple of weeks for sure. And what we'll do is the next time we do a show like this and we're talking.
Another live, yeah.
Yeah, another live one. We'll give you actual dates then so you can sort of lock that in. And we will be bringing down some rocks where we can do a form of ceremony. The major ones we do back up here. We only do a couple per year. We've got one locked in for about October, haven't we?
Yeah,
late October.
Yeah, late October.
Late October. So, yes, we'll be down in September there, and we'll probably be doing maybe one every couple of months there. If it goes well, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
We'll see you all on the weekend, next weekend.
That's right. Hopefully all on the weekend.
Okay.
Yep.
Bye.
Okay, bye.